There is a root growing across the tropics that outperforms 5 of the best-selling supplements in America. But 95% of it passes through your body unless you do one thing the supplement industry will never teach you. It takes 7 days and it costs nothing beyond a glass jar. And by the end of this video, you will know which root this is, how to grow it in a bucket, and why no one told you. Hey, before we get into it, if you have ever wondered what plants were growing in biblical times and how you can actually grow them in your own garden today, go check out Eden's Harvest. Trust me, they are bringing scripture to life in a way you have never seen before. Walk into any home in southern India at dinner time tonight. Watch the cook reach for a knobby golden root sitting in a clay bowl on the counter. She grates it fresh into a simmering pot of dal. She drops a piece into warm milk for a child with a cough. She mixes the powder into a paste and presses it against a cut on her husband's hand. 1 root, 3 uses in a single evening. Food on the table, medicine for the child, first aid for the wound. This has been normal in Indian households for 4,000 years. Now travel to Okinawa, Japan. This small island chain holds the highest concentration of centenarians on Earth. People here routinely live past 100. Researchers who studied Okinawan longevity documented one common thread in their diets. Every morning, the elders brew a tea from this same golden root. It appears in their meals. It appears in their medicine cabinets. It appears in their daily rituals. These centenarians do not take supplements. They do not visit pharmacies for capsules. They use this root and they keep living. In Indonesia, brides are painted with a paste made from this root before their wedding day. The yellow paste covers their skin in a ceremonial ritual older than written history. But this is not decoration. The paste is purifying and antibacterial. It protects the skin. It is considered purifying across Southeast Asia. Asking someone in Jakarta about this root would be like asking someone in Kansas about salt. It is that ordinary. It is that everywhere. Yet walk into any American pharmacy today, you will find 12 different formulations of this root's active compounds sitting on the supplement shelf. Capsules, gummies, powders, liquids, soft gels. The supplement industry extracted one molecule from this root, engineered patented delivery systems around it, and now sells it back to consumers for $30 to $60 a bottle. Meanwhile, grandmothers in the Indian state of Kerala use the whole root and get better results. The question is not whether this root works. 4,000 years of continuous daily use answered that question. The question is why the industry chose extraction over a process that has existed for centuries. You have seen this root in 4 countries across 2 continents. You have watched it heal and feed and protect in Indian kitchens, Japanese tea ceremonies, and Indonesian wedding halls. Now it is time to call it by its name. The root is turmeric, curcuma longa, but the word turmeric in the Western world conjures a very specific image: a small glass jar on a spice rack, a trendy golden latte at a coffee shop, a yellow stain on a white cutting board. That perception is the problem. What Westerners see as a trendy ingredient, more than 1 billion people across Asia see as the foundation of an entire medical system. The ancient record tells a very different story. Nearly 4,000 years ago, in the Vedic culture of India, turmeric was already documented as both a culinary spice and a sacred substance. It was not a trend, it was infrastructure. The oldest surviving texts of Ayurvedic medicine describe turmeric under 46 different Sanskrit names. Each name describes a different property. One name translates to the one that conquers diseases. Another translates to the one that gives color. Ayurvedic physicians prescribed it for joint inflammation, digestive disorders, respiratory ailments, skin wounds, liver problems, and blood purification. This was not folk medicine. This was a systemized, documented pharmacology that predates Western medicine by thousands of years. The root spread along ancient trade routes. It probably reached China by 700 AD. It reached East Africa by 800 AD. West Africa by 1200 AD. It reached Jamaica in the 18th century. In 1280, Marco Polo encountered turmeric during his travels through Asia and described it with amazement, marveling at a vegetable that exhibited qualities so similar to saffron. In traditional Chinese medicine, physicians prescribed turmeric for abdominal pain and blood stagnation. In Indonesia and the Philippines, communities used it for food, textile dyeing, medicine, and ceremonial body painting, all before any contact with India. In Hindu weddings to this day, the haldi ceremony coats bride and groom in turmeric paste as a blessing of health, fertility, and protection. In India, turmeric spread with Hinduism and Buddhism because the brilliant yellow dye was used to color the robes of monks and priests. This was never a supplement. This was never a capsule. For 4,000 years, turmeric was a living part of daily existence across an entire continent. 46 Sanskrit names, thousands of pages of medical documentation, billions of people across centuries of continuous use. And somehow, the supplement industry convinced the Western world to buy it in a pill. Here's how they did it. There is a problem with turmeric that the industry understood before anyone else. The golden compound inside turmeric, called curcumin, has terrible bioavailability. When you swallow turmeric powder or a standard curcumin capsule, your liver metabolizes it within minutes. Most of the curcumin passes straight through your digestive system without ever reaching your bloodstream. Roughly 95% of it is wasted. You swallow a capsule in the morning, and by afternoon, you have produced the most expensive urine of your life. This bioavailability problem is real. It is well documented, and the supplement industry knows it intimately. But instead of teaching consumers a free solution, the industry spent decades engineering proprietary delivery systems. Liposomal curcumin, nanocurcumin, curcumin bound to black pepper extract, curcumin wrapped in fenugreek fiber, curcumin encapsulated in phospholipid complexes. Every single formulation requires a patent. Every single one requires a manufacturing facility. Every single one requires your monthly payment. The numbers tell the story plainly. Total sales of turmeric supplements in the United States climbed from roughly $25 million in 2013 to over $150 million by 2021. Globally, the curcumin market is projected to exceed $2 billion within the next few years. Every year, the industry's answer to poor absorption is the same. Buy our newer, more expensive version. Picture an American family's bathroom cabinet. A bottle of turmeric capsules sits on the shelf, $30 to $60 per bottle, replaced every month. That family spends between $180 and $480 per year on a root that grows in a bucket, on a bioavailability problem that fermentation solves for the cost of salt and a mason jar. Search any medical database for patented curcumin formulations and you will find hundreds of industry-sponsored studies. Now search for fermented turmeric. You will find a fraction of that number. Nobody funds research on what a grandmother with a clay jar and a handful of salt can accomplish in 7 days. That answer threatens every patent in the pipeline. The traditional knowledge exists. The clinical validation exists. The connection between them, fermentation, is exactly where the industry revenue disappears and the silence begins. The industry solved the bioavailability problem with patents and factories, but there is an older solution. It takes 7 days, it costs nothing, and the science confirms it works. When you ferment turmeric with naturally occurring lactobacillus bacteria, something remarkable happens at the cellular level. The bacteria break down the plant's tough cell walls. They pre-digest the cellulose that normally locks curcumin inside the root. They convert insoluble compounds into soluble ones, and they create entirely new bioactive compounds that do not exist in raw or powdered turmeric. Researchers who tested lactobacillus fermented turmeric found that the process significantly increased available curcumin content while producing no harmful effects. Even more striking, the fermented turmeric activated an anti-inflammatory pathway in the body that unfermented turmeric did not activate at all. The fermentation unlocked a new mechanism of action. This was not a small improvement. This was a qualitative transformation. Raw turmeric and fermented turmeric are functionally different substances. This is where the 5 supplements start to fall. The first supplement replaced is your anti-inflammatory. A review of 15 randomized trials found that curcumin relieved osteoarthritis pain and stiffness as well as, or better than, common anti-inflammatory drugs like ibuprofen. In one study comparing the two directly, 94% of patients taking curcumin reported at least 50% improvement in their symptoms. The patients on curcumin also reported fewer stomach problems and fewer side effects. Fermented turmeric makes these results accessible to everyone because you actually absorb the compound instead of flushing it through your system. The second supplement replaced is your joint support. A clinical trial involving 120 participants found that those taking fermented turmeric showed 40% greater improvement in joint comfort compared to those taking standard curcumin formulations. 40%, not from a capsule, from the fermented root. The third supplement replaced is your probiotic. When you ferment turmeric, you are not just enhancing curcumin. You are creating a living food populated with beneficial bacteria that survive the fermentation process. This gives you 2 benefits from one jar. The probiotics support your gut microbiome, and the now bioavailable curcumin reduces intestinal inflammation. 1 fermented food, 2 mechanisms, no capsule required. The fourth supplement replaced is your mood support. In a clinical trial comparing curcumin to a widely prescribed antidepressant in patients with major depressive disorder, the results after 6 weeks were comparable across all groups. A separate analysis pooling data from multiple studies concluded that curcumin showed significant clinical benefit in reducing depressive symptoms and was well tolerated by patients. Fermented turmeric with enhanced bioavailability makes these effects more reliably available to your body. The fifth supplement replaced is your liver protection. In a randomized controlled trial, patients who consumed fermented turmeric powder showed significantly reduced levels of key liver damage markers in their blood without serious side effects. This was specifically fermented turmeric, not raw, not extracted, not encapsulated, fermented. 5 supplements, 5 categories of industry revenue, 1 jar of fermented root. Now let me show you exactly how to make it. Walk into any grocery store or Asian market in your city, find the produce section. Look for fresh turmeric root. It looks like small, knobby fingers with rough brown skin. Break one open and the inside glows bright orange gold. The cost is $2 to $4. That is your entire investment. That is your lifetime supply. Growing turmeric is simple because turmeric does not grow from seeds. It grows from rhizomes. The piece you bought at the grocery store is already a planting unit. Choose pieces with visible bumps or nubs on the surface. These are the growing points where new shoots will emerge. If you can find organic turmeric, choose that because conventionally grown rhizomes are sometimes treated with growth inhibitors that slow sprouting. Fill a 5-gallon bucket or any large container with rich, well-draining potting soil. Plant rhizome pieces about 2 inches deep with the growing points facing upward. Water thoroughly. Place in a warm location with indirect sunlight. Turmeric loves warmth and humidity. It grows outdoors year-round in warmer climates from roughly zone 8 through zone 11. Everywhere else, grow it in containers and bring them indoors before the first frost. Now here is where patience matters. Turmeric takes 8 to 10 months from planting to harvest. What happens during those months is beautiful to watch. In the first few weeks, the soil sits quiet. By week 4, green shoots push through the surface. By week 8, tall, elegant leaves unfurl and spread like something from a botanical garden. The plant grows lush and broad through summer and into fall. Then around month 8 or 10, the leaves begin to yellow and die back. This is not failure. This is the signal. The treasure is underground. Pull the plant from the container, shake off the soil. In your hands, you will find a cluster of bright orange gold rhizomes branching out like fingers, more than you planted. Each harvest gives you enough to replant and expand. One purchase at the grocery store becomes a permanent, expanding supply. Now comes the 7-day transformation. Grate or finely chop your fresh turmeric rhizomes. Wear gloves because turmeric stains everything gold. Pack the grated turmeric into a clean mason jar. Add roughly 2% salt by weight. That works out to about 1 teaspoon of salt for every cup of grated turmeric. Press down firmly to push out air pockets. Add enough filtered water to just cover the turmeric. Leave about 1 inch of space at the top of the jar. Seal the lid loosely because fermentation produces gas that needs room to escape. Place the jar in a cool, dark spot in your kitchen. Room temperature works perfectly, between 65 and 75 degrees. Each day, open the jar briefly to release any gas buildup, then seal it again. By day 3, you will see bubbles forming in the liquid. This means the lactobacillus bacteria are active. The transformation is happening. The cell walls are breaking down. The curcumin is becoming available. New compounds are forming that the raw root never contained. By day 7, your fermented turmeric is ready. It will be tangy, alive, and deeply golden. The bioavailability problem that the supplement industry built a billion-dollar empire around has been solved on your kitchen counter with salt, water, thyme, and a glass jar. Use 1 to 2 tablespoons daily. Add it to rice, soups, stews, smoothies, or warm milk. The fermented paste stores in the refrigerator for 3 to 6 months. Each batch replaces roughly half a year of commercial supplements across all 5 categories. When autumn comes and you harvest your turmeric crop, ferment larger batches, fill mason jars, store them in a cool, dark place, share them with your family, teach your neighbors. And consider this, the rhizomes multiply every season. If supply chains collapse, if pharmacies close, if supplement shipments stop arriving, the turmeric in your container keeps growing. The jar on your counter keeps fermenting. Your access to anti-inflammatory support, joint relief, gut health, mood regulation, and liver protection does not depend on a single factory, a single shipping route, or a single corporation. The pattern is now fully visible. Every benefit that fermented turmeric provides threatens an existing industry. Anti-inflammatory drugs generate billions annually. Joint supplements generate billions. Probiotics generate billions. Mood medications generate billions. Liver support capsules generate billions. Each of these categories could be partially replaced by a root that costs $3 and a jar of salt water. This is not conspiracy. This is economics. Companies fund research that supports their products. They do not fund research that makes their products unnecessary. A grandmother's clay jar cannot be patented. A fermentation process older than written history cannot be licensed. The funding flows toward formulations and away from fermentation. The research follows the funding. The knowledge gaps persist. But the knowledge was never hidden. 4,000 years of Ayurvedic physicians documented it on palm leaves and parchment. Okinawan centenarians lived it every morning with their tea. Indonesian brides wore it on their skin. Indian mothers stirred it into warm milk for their children every night. The root was always there. The process was always available. The only thing missing was someone connecting the dots for a Western audience that had been taught to reach for a capsule instead of a jar. Picture a jar sitting on your kitchen counter right now, golden, bubbling gently, alive with bacteria that have been transforming food for longer than civilization has existed. Inside that jar, 4,000 years of medical knowledge is doing what it has always done, quietly, patiently, without asking for your credit card number, without requiring a subscription, without expiring on a shelf. The root does not care about revenue streams. It does not care about patents or market projections or quarterly earnings reports. It cares about growing. And now, so do you. Every spring, turmeric pushes new green shoots through the soil to remind you that the most valuable things in life often cost the least. A $3 rhizome from a grocery store, a bucket of soil, a mason jar, 7 days of patience, and then months of abundance from a root that half the world already knew about, while the other half was standing in the supplement aisle reading labels and wondering why nothing seemed to work. And do not forget, if you want to grow the same plants that have been rooted in history since biblical times, Eden's harvest has got you covered. Go show them some love.